It's the 21st day of February 2022. Good afternoon and welcome to Pan-African Television News. My name is Ivy Abunadidinakite. We are streaming live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We are live across 46 African countries and some part of Europe. Let me remind you that this bulletin is broadcast live from our studios here, 48 Swanika Street, Abdelimpe, Accra, Ghana. My name is Ivy Abunadidinakite. Now let's take a look at our headlines for this afternoon. Update on nationwide electronic registration, NIA to apprise Parliament on Wednesday. We have details of these coming up shortly. Also coming up, prices of maize sale on the markets. Situation raises eyebrow as price of kenke doubles. We have details of these stories and many more, including stories in the world of business, international sports and entertainment. Do stay with us. Thanks for choosing to stay with us. If you just tune in, you are watching Pan-African Television News live from our studios here, 48 Swanika Street, Abdelimpe, Accra, Ghana. Anchoring is me, Ivy Abunadidinakite. Now let's move straight to our first story. Member of Parliament for the Madina constituency, Francis Xavier Sosu, has urged government to depoliticize the issue of youth unemployment in Ghana, while adding that policies of the government are not purpose-driven, hence needs critical attention.
We are not putting the people above self-interest, self and partisan interests. I believe that our nation has lost its focus generally. When you look at all the issues of government expenditure, and you look at how much of all these monies go into productive sectors, services sectors and agri sectors, which are supposed to generate the requisite jobs, it's completely it's not encouraging. Now, when you look at the statistics, in nominal figures, we have over 10 million young people who must be working, who are not working. And the sad part is that there are a lot of most of these young people who have finished school, have degrees, or have some kind of skills, and yet do not have opportunities. And that is very worrying. When you look at Ghana's national security strategy, youth unemployment, and the current state of youth unemployment is a matter of national security. Because if there will be youth revolution, if there will be uprisings, which we pray never happens in Ghana, because uprisings have never solved any problem. They only complicate the problem. But if there will be any such uprising, it will be due to people having the feeling of not having opportunities in life. And that gets me worried. And that's why in Madina, we try to do the best we can through the Madina Job Center. Like I said, so far about 3,200 just within a year, and we are still counting. And this is something that can happen and that can be replicated in almost every district, where we can try and using some thinking outside the box to connect people to at least some jobs. So I think we must be innovative about the whole thing, and I want to also encourage the young people who are without jobs. You must know that you cannot wake up one day and become an MD. You cannot wake up one day and be driving in a Mercedes Benz. Life is such that you must learn to start from somewhere and get, somewhere. So I am begging the youth of this country to be willing to accept even smaller positions and agree to work in those positions and grow with those positions, because like the Bible says, despise not small beginnings. When you start small, you will grow with it. But when you are always looking for a big opportunity, you want to immediately get like a big job somewhere, you want to get you want to have an iPhone 13 at a go, that will be a problematic position. So I just want to inspire the youth that there is hope for the future. but they are the changes that they may want to see in the future tomorrow.
Also, Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Eslo Wusu-Ekufu, has updated Parliament on the process of government's intended acquisition of Airtel Tigo. She further disclosed that government will follow due process in completing the takeover.
Mr. Speaker, the acquisition of telecommunications companies follows a process, and that process is ongoing. There are phases in that process, from the contract signing, regulatory approvals, and closing obligations that parties have to undertake, and then the legal and regulatory processes that have to be gone through. Contract is signed at a particular period, and that's what was announced. The other closing obligations are ongoing. And when we conclude all of that, part of it being, if on the advice of the Attorney General, that we need to comply with any provision of the law regarding the acquisition, it will be done in due course of this transaction. And so all the legal and constitutional processes will be completed on the advice of the Attorney General by the end of this meeting of Parliament. Oversees the telecom ICT sector in full compliance with the laws of the land, and will complete all legal and constitutional processes by the end of this meeting of Parliament for the acquisition of Airtel Tigo.
In Parliament, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram constituency Sam Nate George is insistent that the takeover process that will see the government of Ghana acquire ownership of Airtel Tigo has been completed without parliamentary approval. He further raised concerns on the information given by the Minister for Communications and Digitalization that the takeover cost the government $1 United States. The
Minister has made it clear that she would be bringing the documentation to Parliament before the end of this session. We would hold her to account for that. But like the Speaker pointed out, it's important that government agencies bear in mind that when you are going to enter into an agreement with an international company, Article 1815 is clear that you would need to get Parliament's approval. And so the question we must ask ourselves is, as was reported in the Daily Graphic, and the Minister did not dispute that, I made the point, Bharti Airtel, who owns Airtel Tigo, as far as they are concerned, have announced in India, on the Indian Stock Exchange, not in the newspaper, on the stock exchange, to their shareholders, that they have sold Airtel Tigo. So if here in Ghana, we are still holding on that we have not completely bought it, the person selling says, I've sold to you. They can only make such a claim on the basis of whatever documentation they have signed. The CEO of Airtel Tigo that was appointed by Bharti Airtel has left the company. The new CEO is one appointed by government. So if anybody says that the transaction has not been completed, how do you appoint a new CEO if you've not taken over the assets? How does Bharti Airtel announce to its shareholders in India? It means that one person is not telling their people the truth. It's either the ministry is not telling us the truth with regards to the full status of the transaction, or Bharti Airtel has lied to its shareholders on the Indian Stock Exchange. One or the other is not telling the truth. And I leave it to the Ghanaian people to decide who is being truthful and who is not being truthful.
However, Minister for Communications and Digitalization updated Parliament on the process of government's intended acquisition of Airtel Tigo, reiterating that the process is still incomplete. She further stated that government will follow due process in completing the takeover while waiting for the advice of the Attorney General of the Republic.
Surprised that you still listen to him on this Airtel Tigo matter. He came and announced to the whole world that government had bought Airtel Tigo for $20 million when he was nowhere near the transaction, hadn't seen any document, and as a figment of his imagination, threw this out. You are still listening to what he's saying. I'm the one who signed the documents. I said the contract price sum was $1. He said no, he's never had any such thing before. So let him make whatever allegations he wants to make. We are still focused and we're doing our work. At every stage of the way, I've been very open with the Ghanaian people and I've put full information out before you. When we started the process, I indicated that this thing was being considered, that Airtel Tigo was considering offloading its interest in Bharti Airtel, and Tigo were considering offloading their interest in Airtel Tigo. And the government was also considering taking it up for various reasons, not the least being disruption in the market, loss of jobs, and all of that. And we wanted to have a stable telecommunications environment. And so if government needed to step in and secure a stable industry, we would do so. Ultimately, in November last year, we concluded the signing of the contract. But even within the contract itself, there are closing obligations. There are things that need to be done before the long stop dates. There are timelines which need to be met and obligations on both sides which need to be undertaken. And we're going through that. What would I be coming to tell Parliament? That we are still in the process of negotiations? No. When you have your way clear that this is it, we have reached some agreement, firm commitments have been made, agreements signed, then you bring it to the House. And as is done with all contracts that are brought to the House for approval, you bring it to the House for approval. If the Attorney General advises that it is one of those international agreements that fall within that category. So it is not cut and dried that it will ultimately end up here. We act on the advice of the Attorney General. So if he advises that we present this document to Parliament for approval, we will do so.
You're watching Pan-African Television News here on Pan-African Television. My name is Ivy Abunadi Denakite. We'll go for a quick break. When we're back, the news continue.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs. A premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget, and payment terms. Trasacco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
Thank you for choosing to stay with us. Now let's do some more local stories. Parliament says it has invited the National Identification Authority and the minister responsible for it to appear before the House to apprise it on the ongoing registration towards acquisition of the Ghana card and other electronic registrations exercises ongoing nationwide. They are to appear before the House on Wednesday 23.
For consideration of plenary, the following. One, that on Wednesday, the 23rd of February, a committee of the whole be held to enable NIA update the House on the ongoing registration of Ghanaians regarding the ECOWAS ID cards, also known as Ghana card, and other electronic registrations currently going on in the country. Mr. Speaker, members will have to brief their constituents, and we believe that members must be fully updated on this all-important matter.
Meanwhile, Chairman of Road and Transport Committee of Parliament, Kennedy Nyako, says processes have been commenced to facilitate the construction of about 4 bypasses on the Accra-Kumasi Highway. He was speaking in Parliament on the awarding of contracts for the construction of these projects.
The government read its budget, and in the budget he has stated that there is some dualization of our roads that government intend to carry on, especially on our major highways. I'm here to announce to the Ghanaian people that government have successfully awarded 8 separate contracts to 8 local contractors, fully resourced contractors that are going to embark or construct 4 overpasses, bypasses on the Apedra to Kumasi Road. The first bypass will take place at Osino, which is about 11.6 kilometers, which will be constructed by 2 big local companies, First Car Limited and Joshmore Construction Limited. The second bypass will take place at Enyinem, which is about 6.1 kilometers, which also will be done, the work will be done by NAG, Firmament, and Hardwick Limited. The third one is Inyeresi Bypass, which is 10.5 kilometers, which will also be constructed by Resource Access Limited and Memphis Metropolitan Construction Limited. The last one will be a bypass at Konongo, which is 13.5 kilometers, which will be done by Kofi Job Company and Jushop Construction Limited. Government has taken this decision as a result of the numerous accidents on our roads, especially from Accra to Kumasi Road, and the traffic congestion that goes on that route. And I've decided that government want to use these 4 bypasses to dualize that road to make easy access for commuters on the road. I think this is a major news, a major intervention by the government. Government made the promise, and government is delivering that promises. The construction work will start from March. Latest by first week in April, you see the contractors all on site. It is going to cost the Ghanaian taxpayer 2 billion Ghana cedi for this project to go on. I can give you details, but I have the details here, so maybe afterwards you can get it yourself and know how much it's going to cost for those. These are going to be dual carriages that will ease, like President Kufuor did at Nkoko bypass, to make it easy so that there will not be much more traffic. Currently, you know where the traffic build up start from, on the Kumasi Road, and the engineers have looked at it carefully, and they have decided that we need to have these 4 bypasses, because after Nkoko, the road is clear for everybody to. So that is what government. This shows how committed the Akufo-Addo government is in addressing our road issues, our bad road in this country.
Now, away from that, a youth group, Smivik Leadership Arena, has held a leadership summit to address the issue of career uncertainty and entrepreneurship in the country. The summit, which was held at the Accra Technical University, was aimed towards fostering leadership careers to mitigate unemployment in the country.
Speaking at the event, broadcast journalist at Media General Alfred Okanse was of the view that government needs to channel its full non-partisan attention to formulating policies that do not only create jobs for the youth in the interim but can stand the test of time.
Politicize the approach to addressing this issue of the youth unemployment, because guess what? It's going to be with every administration. So we've gotten to a point where I think government needs to swallow the pride, bring everyone on board to come and proffer ideas to how this can be solved permanently. Because over time, we've seen the interventions over time by governments gone by and present to address the issue of youth unemployment has not really been sustainable. So now we need to think about the sustainability of the interventions that we're putting in place to solve the youth unemployment. And I think that if all hands are brought on deck, we would be able to have some very good, proposals on how to solve this. And I think it's going to help us all. Yeah.
Also speaking to Pan-African News, an organizer of the event, Ebenezer Smith, said the summit was held to give the youth some of direction on career paths in light of the country's struggle with youth unemployment.
It's very communication, events and marketing campaign. And every year what we normally do is we hold this leadership summit and to motivate the youth. The government has even said that as a youth, you have to set your own business, as saying the government. So, we took it as an advantage that if that's the case, why don't you call this political leaders and then the big people who are into leadership skills and who are into business, so they will always motivate and then encourage the youth, how the youth can build themselves into leadership and also in business skills.
Some students of the Accra Technical University also shared their opinion on the summit, saying that leadership and entrepreneurial skills are the bedrock of youth development in any nation, hence needs attention.
I think it's a very good one, and I have gotten the chance to meet the likes of Alfred Okanse and many others who are yet to speak. I think that going forward, this initiative or this program is going to help to improve our skills. First of all, when I talk of skills, what we are doing here is about leadership. So when I talk of skills, I'm talking about the ability to speak, the prowess, the speaking prowess. Yes, and so when you listen critically to what Alfred Okanse said, he said that you should be able to, the world is getting to a stage whereby you have to be able to catch the attention of people within 30 seconds. So if I want you to get my attention, the first 30 seconds of my speech will tell you or will let you know whether this guy or this lady is really going to make sense. I don't know if you understand my point. Yeah, so I think that, first of all, I have learned that it is important that when you are given the chance to speak, or as part of the leadership criteria, you should be able to speak within 30 minutes to convey the message that you have for your audience.
Sometimes you have your ideas or your aspirations being dead. You forget about them because of the busy schedules. I'm going to lectures, I'm doing that, but once you get in here and then you see people who are ahead of you making it, it rebuilds that thing in you, that zeal, that hunger, that you want to do this or you want to do that, you want to make this thing a reality in the near future. So as often as possible, we would ask that these seminars are held so that students also have that focus, students have the idea to step out of that white collar job and do something different.
Residents of Pakru Akura, a community in the Nkwanta South constituency of Yoti region, are extremely concerned over a poor educational facility in the area. According to them, the exceedingly worrying situation is hindering effective teaching and learning.
Akuru boasts of a school which has been grappling with a myriad of difficulties and challenges. The children sit under trees to learn, and this exposes them to all forms of danger. According to the Assemblyman for Nyangbong West Electoral Area, Simon Mamprembi, the school lacks numerous facilities, and this does not augur well for effective tuition and learning. He further disclosed that the demotivating condition has discouraged teachers from staying whenever they are posted to the school.
Many Assemblyman are Nyangbong West Electoral Area. sana me wo school bebre e wo me electoral area we so ka school me wo Nyambo West electoral area wo challenges bebre normal p na hia school no be ni say school no e wo eni edan school nkola mo fry be de e betena mo aso ade pavilion na ya raise Chesi sia enso baba semu anase be sa sei senso ba wo say a teacher for a chere for in school nkwala na yede empon kofie sara na okọ school kasanso a ade aye nkuwa nkwala na betena aso ade ebi ni ho nkwala ne tete form na omosu ade esese ofo eto ehuma ma omo de betu form omo choro mo no be hu se ehuma na be den ebe ye fi enchele huma na yedan na huma na school bofra no huma yedan ase chesabo awofo no ss ka bebre e de fa sawe e na teacher fo so yedan no so e wo school mu omuntimi e mo school chese be se teacher fo anase akyerekere fo mesa pe e na wo school mu o kura from KG1 to P6 be se teacher nwotwe at least o manya wo sin ka yenya teacher nwotwe says nka obi be fa KG1 no be kura KG2 class 1 kodu class 6 a teacher for ni ho wo plan be school mu agro no na omo ye dem omo di ekoba pra akọ sara ana school no ehia office teacher for any headmaster omo no ma omo di use e wo school mu no akade omo di use e wo school mu nkora omo po wo so mu nsuansa no ma we nyina enko tu obi fie ansana de chia omo ba no ma sa sua no ma we nyina ayeda e de ba school mu nti eye oha ema echerechere fo ne school emofra no.
A report has been sent to both the Assembly and Member of Parliament for Nkwanta South, Geoffrey Kinney, on the issue, but it has been left unattended to. Residents and authorities are calling on government and benevolent individuals to assist and support them immediately.
Ni organization aban assemble so omumaya ya mwa ntimi be boa school no babi a ofo aye omo afamu de ba essence nkomo pe ahwane na ye den na nduru omo bom wode pass nkomo betimi asi school no anase office e de ama school omo atimi aye nti esra nkwankwan ni obi a ne sam eye obe peso be den obe boa ye sra amanfo won ma omo sam eye a omo betimi abeboa ye school no no omo atimi anya office nkungwa ni ho tables ni ho acherechere fo ni ho noma pi sara na eni ajanabia am school no just duru so tobre na enwura no fu a nkora nam enwura no mu na omo kwaja omo anan nti yesra ankora ne organization say omo be dey omo be adum na omo ntimi mbo school na enso ye dey engineer ni na so
school Congo, teachers for your person school my your books. Your teachers for your school then and
Coming up next is business. Do stay.
The Socialist Movement of Ghana, SMG, invites all progressive and revolutionary forces to the observance of Ghana's Day of Shame on Thursday, February 24th, 2022. 56 years has passed since the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA of the USA, and its local collaborators launched a futile attack on the African Revolution. This Day of Shame will be marked with a public forum on the theme 56 years after the overthrow of Nkrumah, the state of the Ghanaian economy. The event will be chaired by Comrade Tretri Opoku, convener of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The speakers will be Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman, first female vice-chancellor of a public university in Ghana and vice presidential candidate of the NDC in the 2020 elections, and Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. The event starts at 5 p.m. prompt at the new headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, next door to the Noga Hill Hotel on the George Walker Bush Highway. Come and join the struggle to ensure that imperialism never succeeds. This event will be telecasted live on Pan-African television and streamed on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
Hello? Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message. Hello? What's happened?
It's your child who will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
besides, friend, I'm so young. No, I was not testing messages here. And I office so I'm trying to tell you, she says, I
mean, so we a guy man, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Ghana.
What's it then? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Yinaso, ye be, Frey 0240 333 111 and that says 0244 144 822.
Me you want swimming pool me see? Me want to be here. Family dwelling now. Family dwelling.
What fashion is your
me out with that shit.
Welcome back. Now let's do business. Kenke sellers at Villa Paws Market have bemoaned the hike in price of maize. According to them, the mess has affected resources and sustainability of their businesses.
Widely consumed and cultivated staple crop in Ghana. It's also the main ingredient for kenke, a popular staple dish prepared with kondo and usually served with pepper and fried fish. The price of the commodity has soared with huge implications on buying and selling. An exceedingly worrying situation some traders at the La Paz market have decried. Pan-African News caught up with some who described the development as deeply disturbing and a cause for alarm. They also complained bitterly that it has seriously affected their business.
1.8.
The prices of maize used to be 180 cedis to 280 cedis, but now we buy it for 500 cedis, though it was about 280 cedis 8 months ago. The leaves for the kenke were 250, but now we buy it at 300 cedis on the market, and you have to subtract all from the maize. The firewood too is 10 cedis. The fish was sold at 180 cedis, but now it is sold at 250 Ghana cedis. The one sold at 290 cedis is now 400 cedis. So because of that, a fish sold at 2 cedis is now 4 cedis. The oil was 150 cedis and 160 cedis, but now it is sold at 300 cedis. A kenke is now sold for 1 cedi 50 pesos, 2 cedis and 3 cedis. My kenke is very nice and huge, so my customers don't complain. I buy my maize at Agbogboloshi, but when I go myself, I get it for 360 cedis. But when I buy it from here, I get it for 500 Ghana cedis.
Something like the saying, "Fair kwa migrano ni fair, akasefa." No, no chimo no wacho, fio no ana no ye ka weke sano. No mi woye.
I affect your business.
The prices of maize have really affected our business because of the increment. Someone might be hungry and would want to buy some, but because of the prices, they can't afford to buy, which has made the market very slow for us. The maize has become very expensive. It is now sold at 400 cedis and 250 cedis. When I buy it, the price comes down. That is why I sell mine at 2 cedis and 1 cedi 50 per worth. Last year was 250 cedis, but this year it has increased because of the fuel price increment, and the farmers too are complaining that things are hard, so they cannot also reduce the price of the maize.
Let's see petrol. If you are from some see mama boarding, you almost all your man to me find you fufu. No room the top idea of boarding into Sana or my.
The price of the maize is killing us. We buy it at 600 cedis and a ball of kenke is now 3 cedis. The price of the leaves is now 120 cedis as compared to previously when we used to buy it for 80 Ghana cedis. We don't get fish and the oil is now expensive. The prices of oil are now 270 Ghana cedis. They bring the maize from Tichiman, Wa and Winchi. We are suffering. The current government has made things so difficult. A visibly worried resident also poured out her frustration and pleaded with government to address the issue as soon as possible. We are really suffering. Even if we want to eat kenke, you cannot eat one. For instance, I eat 3 because 2 cedis is not enough for me. First, when I buy 1 or 2 for 3 cedis, I get satisfied. But for now, it is not like that. When you buy 2 cedis, it won't suffice unless you buy 2 for 4 cedis or even 3. Things are really difficult these days and it is very disturbing. The way things are going is really affecting us, so we are pleading with government to help the situation for us because we are dying. Now the kenke we buy for 2 Ghana cedis, if we give our children, it does not satisfy them. The way Ghana is moving has made things difficult for us because things are really bad.
3.5 million.
Reporting for Pan-African Television News, Irabna Frimpong.
The President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has indicated that Ghana has the ability to utilize natural resources in enhancing the welfare of citizens and development of the entire nation. He revealed that Ghana has made more oil discoveries after the initial discovery in 2007.
Speech at the Midday International Energy Conference and Expo in Georgetown, Guyana, Mr. Akufo-Addo told the conference, which was attended by the President of Guyana, President of Suriname, the Prime Minister of Barbados, and the CEO of ExxonMobil, amongst others, that Ghana is today touted as a model case in Africa in the management of oil and gas resources. According to the President, the discovery of oil resources in Ghana in 2007 offered a unique opportunity for the country to leverage its newfound oil and gas resources for the development of the Ghanaian economy and to finance priority domestic investments crucial for diversified growth. With some resource-endowed nations in Africa failing to achieve sustainable development from the exploitation of their natural resources, President Akufo-Addo noted that Ghana has implemented a number of policies and initiatives to change the narrative. These policies, he explained, are focused on ensuring sustainable growth of the sector through legislative development, employment creation and protection of the environment, revenue and cost management, transparency, diversification of the economy, capacity building, and local content development.
Coming up is international news. On Thursday, February 17, the Australian government announced its intent to ban the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas in totality as a terrorist organization. Australian Home Minister Karen Andrews announced the decision, claiming that there's no place in Australia for hateful ideology.
Terry Wing, Izaldin Al-Qassem Brigades, is already listed as a terrorist organization in Australia. After announcing the ban on Hamas in totality, Australia joins a small set of Western countries, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union and Israel, who have also done the same earlier. Israel welcomed the Australian move, with Prime Minister Naftali Bennett thanking his Australian counterpart, Scott Morrison. The banning of Hamas by Australia would lead to restrictions on the financial flows to the organization. Anyone found to be a member of Hamas or accused of carrying forward its agenda would be punished with up to 25 years in prison. Hamas, or the Islamic Resistance Movement, was formed during the First Intifada in the late 1980s to fight against the Israeli occupation of Palestine. In the subsequent decades, it gradually emerged as the most powerful Palestinian resistance group. It came out as the largest party in the last elections for the Palestinian Authority in 2006. Hamas controls and administers the Gaza Strip with a population of over 2 million. Israel has imposed a severe land, air and sea blockade of Gaza, turning it into the world's largest open-air prison. Australia, under a right-wing government, is seen to be following the United States and Israel in its foreign policy. Last year, it banned the Lebanese resistance group Hezbollah in totality, despite opposition from a strong Lebanese community at home and from rights groups across the world. Both Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Palestine have a strong political presence, and listing them as terrorist organizations can restrict popular political choices. At the time of the announcement of the ban against Hezbollah, several groups had pointed out that such bans amounted to external political interference. Israel has regularly bombed Gaza and is responsible for killing hundreds of Palestinian citizens in the narrow territory. In May last year, Israel bombed Gaza for almost 2 weeks, killing over 250 Palestinians and wounding nearly 2,000. Israel justified the move by saying it was responding to rockets fired by Hamas from the territory. It also led a global campaign to vilify Palestinian resistance movements and has for long lobbied with the United States and United Kingdom, termed them as terrorist organizations. The move to ban Hamas was opposed by Australia's Palestine Advocacy Network, which claimed that this designation will not act as a deterrent against terrorism, but would damage Australia's capacity to play a constructive role towards Middle East peace.
International partners, the People's Dispatch. We go for a break. When we are back, the news continuing with the happenings in the world of sports.
Hello? Okay, why? My wife comes and send a message. Hello? What's happened?
It's a chunk who will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
besides, friend, I'm so near you. My wife is not testing messages here, and I'm facing so. I'm trying to tell you, she's saying, I
mean, so we a guy, Manu, and may young who could look cry. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be Frey 0240 333 111 and Nasa 0244 144 822.
Miampa and you want swimming pool me see. Me want to be here. Family dwelling now. Family dwelling. Me out that
Welcome back. Let's do sports. Accra Hearts of Oak were held to a pulsating goalless draw by Nemesis Asante Kotoko at the Accra Sports Stadium in the outstanding match day 7 encounter.
Who needed a win to cut the gap between them and the Porcupine Warriors started brightly and should have taken an early lead when Daniel Banier set up Kwejo Obing Jr. with strike hit the post. Minutes later, Banier had an opportunity to break the deadlock but squandered the chance as Kotoko kissed their luck in the first half hour of the game. Red-hot Kotoko forward Frank Ituga came close for the Porcupine Warriors in the 36th minute, but his effort did not trouble Richard Atta. Asante Kotoko returned from the break the more adventurous, with Ituga and Richard Lamte getting great opportunities and keeping Hearts goalie Richard Atta busy. Suleiman Tari, who was impressive in the first half, had to be replaced in the early minutes of the second half by Frederick Ansaboche. The Phobians started to grow into the game once again, but could not just find the back of the net, and later on, coach Samuel Bidu brought on leading scorer Kofi Koji for Banier. The powerful forward did not get enough time to make an impact as the two teams shared the spoils in Accra. Kotoko still sit atop the league with 36 points, while their bitterest foes are 8th.
Entertainment news is next. Entertainment front, Lord Kenya, whose name is lavishly embossed on the lips of all and sundry, left an indelible mark in music with his flawless performance within and outside. Now today on Showbiz segment, we'll shift our focus on his meteoric rise from obscurity and superstardom.
The famed and iconic legend known in private life as Philip Arham Kojo Akpo Kenya, born on September 19, 1978 in Kumasi, to an Inzima father from Senzui and an Asante mother from Fumeswa. The rap sensation began his primary education at Central International School, had his secondary education at Anglican Senior High School, where he was the 400-meter and 110 hurdles top athlete. After his sixth form at the Empress Senior High School, he ventured into the enthralling world of music and released his debut album Sika Card, which instantly became one of the nation's hits. He has 7 albums to his credit: Sika Card, Sika Bar, Yansum Sika, which topped charts in Ghana, Sika Mpom Faneho, Aketieni, Born Again, and God Day. Lord Kenya was nominated as the Artist of the Year, while the title track of his second album, Sikaba, also nominated as Rap Music of the Year at the first Ghana Music Awards. Winner of the Hip Life Album of the Year at the Ghana Music Award 2001. Best Ghanaian Rap Music Award at the Anansi Krom Festival in Canada 2000, as well as a string of nominations elsewhere. He had an encounter with the Holy Spirit on October 28, 2010, and has not looked back ever since. Lord Kenya, who is the leader of the Faith of Grace Covenant Temple at Ahojo in Kumasi, launched his gospel album Christ Life in 2011.
Well, that was Lord Kenya, a great personality rider. His memory still lives on. That's all for this afternoon's Pan-African television news. Before we go, a recap of our headlines. Update on nationwide electronic registration. NIA to apprise Parliament on Wednesday. Now, prices of maize sold on the market. Situation raises eyebrow as price of kenke doubles. We brought you details of these stories and many more, including stories in the world of business, international sports, and entertainment. A big thanks to you for choosing to stay with us. Do follow us on all social media platforms, on Facebook at Pan African Television, on Instagram at Pan African Television, and on Twitter at Pan African Television. My name is Ivy Abnadi Nakita. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.
Hello, information. Madam, me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, hadn't they?
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I even called. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasako fast floor.
Please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big